Walk through the cobblestone streets of modern Regensburg today, and you'll find a peaceful, beautifully preserved medieval city. But just beneath that picturesque surface lies a much darker industrial history. By 1943, Regensburg was the vital manufacturing hub for the Messerschmitt Me 262, the world's first operational jet-powered fighter aircraft. In the summer of that year, Allied bombers targeted the Regensburg plant. The resulting devastation ripped through the production lines and sent a shockwave of panic straight to the top of the Nazi high command. Losing this single factory set off a terrifying chain reaction. To save their most advanced weapon, the Nazi leadership enacted a plan that would accelerate the pace and cruelty of the Holocaust. The strategy was simple: move production out of the sky's reach and bury it deep underground in massive, heavily fortified subterranean facilities. But excavating millions of tons of solid rock required immense manual labor. With Allied forces closing in on all sides, the SS needed a massive, entirely disposable workforce to dig the bunkers. They found their solution in a joint venture between the German Air Force and the SS, establishing a camp codenamed Bergkristall, officially known as KZ Gusen II. It was an underground factory built entirely by slave labor. To fill it, the SS organized special selections directly from Auschwitz. They funneled thousands of young Jewish men into Gusen II without even registering their names, condemning them to excavate tunnels and assemble jet fuselages until their bodies gave out. This chart illustrates the horrifying mathematics of what the SS called extermination by labor. Stripped of housing, winter clothing, and safe drinking water, the average prisoner survived for a maximum of 4 months before succumbing to the freezing temperatures or sheer exhaustion. A cold military calculation to salvage a fighter jet formally sentenced thousands of men to the lowest, most lethal tier of the camp hierarchy. By early 1945, relentless Allied bombing had successfully shattered the railway lines connecting these underground factories, completely paralyzing the Nazi logistics network. Desperate to clear the debris and keep the war machine running, the SS opened new subcamps directly inside civilian population centers. In the Regensburg district of Stadt am Hof, they crammed 460 prisoners into the ballroom of a local guest house known as the Colosseum. The man put in charge of this makeshift subcamp was SS Oberscharführer Ludwig Plagg. He was a heavy drinker, a hardened veteran of Auschwitz, and known to the prisoners by the mocking but terrified nickname Das Pfeifchen, the Little Pipe. Plagg was notorious for inventing a sadistic form of physical punishment he called sport. He forced starved prisoners to run in circles for hours or crawl on their bare knees over crushed bricks until they collapsed. In just 5 weeks under his command, over 40 prisoners died inside that guesthouse ballroom. As the grand industrial design of the war machine fractured, the highly organized cruelty of the Holocaust devolved into localized, chaotic sadism, operating right next door to ordinary citizens. In April 1945, the Allied armies were closing in on all fronts. Recognizing the end was near, the SS issued sweeping orders to forcibly evacuate the remaining camps and leave no living witnesses behind. This initiated the final brutal phase of the genocide, the death marches. One column of 1,600 starved prisoners from Buchenwald was forced to walk 600 kilometers south toward the Regensburg region. Late in the evening of April 26th, a sudden, violent explosion shattered the night. German sappers had blown up a railway bridge right next to where the prisoners were being held near the town of Ergelsbach. That sudden blast triggered utter confusion among the guards. In the brief, chaotic window that followed, the SS lost control of the perimeter, allowing desperate prisoners to scatter into the darkness and hide in a nearby barn. The next morning, SS guards cornered local policemen Josef Kimmerling and Max Mauer, delivering a deadly ultimatum: hunt down and execute the escapees on sight or be executed yourselves. When Kimmerling and Mauer, alongside a local farmer named Anna Gnadl, actually looked at the skeletal prisoners, they made a choice. Risking a swift execution by the SS, they defied their orders and hid 13 of the men in Gnadl's barn. that singular act of courage saved their lives. At 7 o'clock the very next morning, American tanks rolled into Ergelsbach, finally ending the nightmare. Following the war, Ludwig Plog was tried for war crimes and hanged. Kimmerling, Mauer, and Gnadl were eventually honored by Israel as righteous among the nations. And John Wiener, one of the 13 men hidden in that barn, lived another 6 decades to ensure their rescue was never forgotten. Walk through the streets of Regensburg today, and the past is always underfoot. The very foundations of this region were the sites of terrible cruelty, but they are also the exact places where simple, quiet humanity refused to be extinguished.